Well, that didn't take long, Benji.
Gotcha.
Yeah. This episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Warren, Medical Gear Outfitters, and Colby Valve.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 389, Budget Overlanding.
Tonight, Aaron is charged with assault on a battery. Jeremy's working late, and Ben plays with some plasma.
Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, interview people in the off-road industry. Your hosts tonight are Aaron, and my name is Ben, and welcome. And also, we are joined tonight by Jay and Benji from the Overlanding on a Budget, I just foobarred that terribly.
No, Budget Overland, yeah.
Budget
Overland.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
God bless America. We just met.
Yeah.
Goodness sakes.
The dyslexic guy screws it up.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having us on, guys.
yeah, for sure. Thanks for screwing that up. I'm just
No
joking.
problem.
Yeah.
Just
that
be
is-
glad you're
He
not.
probably
fucking
drives
first-
a Jeep.
Oh, hold on.
Drives a Toyota.
It's
Too
Toyota.
soon for that. We've been on the air for like a
Shots
minute.
fired. Shots fired.
Oh, no. Yeah, fire those shots. No, he's a Toyota guy, just like you guys.
Nice. So,
Oh, he introduces our guests all the time wrong. It's hilarious.
Like the boy from the Pony Horse Hour podcast.
Yeah, the pony horse. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got quite a few people in the comments already. We got Rick from Texas, Josh from Michigan, Randy says, "Hey crew," and Kevin says, "Two podcasts I regularly listen to, all in the same place."
Oh, that's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kevin.
What's up, Rick?
So,
Ben, what have you been up to? What have you been up to this past week?
not much. I should have had my rig up and fixing stuff, but instead I decided to go up to Maltby and hang out with Pete for his birthday. And
You said the name of the town right this time. You're finally getting it.
Maybe I might have heard it a lot last night. And then we played with his plasma table, and it was his birthday, so we hung out and had steak, and it was a good time.
Did you cook the steak on the plasma table, or
You did not cook the steak on the plasma table. I burned it on the grill. Not terribly. I didn't burn it, but I overcooked it on accident.
did you use the plasma table to cut out hearts for Pete?
No, he was working on a 3rd gen 4Runner bumper for a friend that needed to be cut out. So,
Okay.
but his table's been down for a little bit. He hasn't used it in a while. So we loaded up a sheet of steel, and it was like, the plasma tip was bouncing off the table, not resetting. It's Z-axis, as I would call it on my 3D printer. So
Yeah.
we had to adjust some things, and I think by the time I left, we had it all working. So yeah.
You get the hammer out. You're just beating it with the hammer like Jeremy Clarkson.
No, not quite that bad. We just unplugged and replugged stuff and made sure it plugged
Oh.
right properly.
There you go. Unplug it and plug it back in. That's how
Yep.
you do that.
Yep. There's a few times I walked out there and I touched something and it started working, and he's like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just made it work."
Yeah.
Again." What about you?
Well, I bought a battery last week for the Frontier,
Mm-hmm.
and went to put it in, and it's a full inch taller than the battery I took out, and the leads coming off the starter didn't reach, like, so the post clamp has a stud that sticks up, and you have to put the ring terminal over that.
Mhm.
And I couldn't slip the ring terminal over it, so I had to put the ring terminal on the post clamp and then just barely get the post clamp over and get it down. And then I went to thread the nut on the post, and it stripped out. So I had to go get new battery posts, which kind of was convenient. I had to go return the battery for a core anyway. So when I returned that, I got the new post clamps, and I just got done installing that tonight. My winch stopped working in the spring, and someone said, well, maybe it's because your battery was real low. So sometimes winches don't like to work if they don't have enough amperage. So I was all excited. I got my new battery. Winch still isn't working. So tonight I tried, after I put the battery posts on and got that all done, I started to take my front bumper apart to get to my winch, and I've got spinning bolts, or I should say spinning nuts that are supposed to be captive, and all kinds of frustrating stuff. And I was losing daylight. I don't have lights in the shop yet, so called it quits and came in here to do the podcast.
What type
So,
of electrician doesn't have lights in his shops? I just want to know.
well, I have lights in the shop. They're not hung up or wired because
I know.
they're ready to be done. So, hey, we got Benji in the comments here. Missouri in the house. Right on. Thanks for joining us tonight, Benji. Besides that, over the weekend, I went to the beach. Oh, someone says is Aaron's screen frozen. It's highly possible. Elon Musk hasn't been kind to me with my internet lately. So if my screen is frozen, I hope it's not like with my mouth wide open, making a really funny picture. It
Close.
from time to time. I live out in the sticks, so I have to rely on Starlink, Skynet, something like that. Went to the beach over the weekend for my wife's birthday. We rented an Airbnb, so that was kind of fun. And then tomorrow so I bought that 37 to try to fit on the Frontier, and it's just a little bit too big. So tomorrow I'm going to go get it debeated, and I found a guy to trade me that 137 for a single 35 that I'll use as a spare tire. So that'll save me from having to buy a fifth tire when I finally hear back from Milestar tire. So
I should put this as a correction for you in that you wish not to use a sawzall and a sledgehammer to make the 37s fit.
correct. Yeah, I'm choosing not to lose a bunch of body and frame to fit that 37. So I thought it would fit a lot easier than it looks like it was going to fit, and she just ain't going to go. So I don't want to force the issue. And then my fear is when I would have gone to 37s is that I would finally have to do gearing, and that's just easy $2,500
More
right,
money to make your wife more mad, right?
Yep, exactly. So I think 35s will be plenty big for what I do. So yeah, so that's what I've been up to. Trying to get the truck ready for the snow camping trip in a couple weeks. So how about you, Jay? Have you done anything off-road related in the past week?
To be honest, I haven't. I've been so more in the travel mode over the last month, really, and just getting through the holidays. I'm finally just kind of getting settled back in, and I'm hoping to get out here soon. But I'm chomping at the bit to get out and get a trip in here pretty soon.
You just got a new bike. What kind of bike did you get?
I did. I got a Honda new to me Africa Twin. It's 2017. It's got like 2,000 miles on it, so hardly been used. And so I'm really excited about getting back on the motorcycle and getting out for some adventures there. I used to ride a lot more street bikes back in the day, but to have a dual sport, something I can take off road, I'm really excited about it. I'm just waiting to get through this Midwest winter so I can get out there and ride it.
Yeah, nice.
That's a nice looking bike.
Yeah, I love the Africa Twin. You picked a great bike.
I got a screaming deal on it too, man. I mean, it just came at the right time, and I was like, man, I'm gonna spoil myself. Get this bad boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did get your package mailed out. I assume because you saw that I mailed a package out that you received it. So I think that's Paul in the comments. He got the. Wait, did I really mail it out, Paul, or is it still right here? The Epic Shackles. I guess we'll never know. So we had a contest, and Paul won a pair of Epic Shackles. So I just happen to have another set here. That's look at that bike. Oh, sexy.
It's in my
So
garage
sexy.
right now. I just want to.
Go out
Yeah.
and rub some baby oil.
Bring it in the
on or
house.
something.
Put it right
Yeah.
behind you. That's what it's there for.
That would be great.
Park
Yeah,
it
just
right
put
here.
it up
That'd be
on that
great.
small table behind
yeah.
you. Yeah. Or sit on
That's
it while you do the podcast.
It's a great idea. Both great ideas.
Benji, have you done anything off-road related in the past week or so?
In the past couple weeks, me and a few buddies went down to the Ozarks in Arkansas. Did some wheeling down there. It was freezing cold. It was down in the teens, but that whole trip did not go according to plan at all.
I didn't know it could get that cold down there.
Yeah, man. It was a fluke. We all had, a couple of us had diesel heaters, and my buddy, he had like a buddy heater that, he just turns on before he goes to sleep and then enough to take off the chill in the morning. He said he slept fine, but no snow. Everything outside's dead and it's 20 degrees, 15 degrees. It was nasty, but we had some good times. He broke down, but we won't get into that. And it just, everything we were planning on doing, it just did not happen, but we still had a good time. Anytime you get out in the woods, it's a good time.
Should we tune into your podcast to find out how that trip went?
I mean, I guess I could tell you, we're all here, right? So he has a 2-wheel drive Tundra. It's a first-gen Tundra, and he wheels the crap out of it. And he's a really good driver. And we don't just do like gravel roads. We do some trails. And
Nice.
His upper spindle cracked at the ball joint. This is not his first incident with this happening. It's his second. And I've never seen that failure before. And you search forums and stuff, you never really see that on the Tundras. And he's got, all sorts of aftermarket upgraded stuff, except for like a spindle reinforcement kit or whatever they sell. I think he's looking at doing that or sassing it and going 4-wheel drive and, make the smart decision there. But all that stuff costs money, and it sucks breaking down every trip, man. So it's like he's at a fork in the road. He's got to make a tough decision on what to do. You keep throwing money at patching it up, or
I wonder if because the spindles for the first gen Tundra, aren't they where the ball joint's on the spindle, not the upper control arm? And then you do like, if you were to do like a
he's running SPCs and
okay.
So yeah. But
it sounds like he drives like Ben drives.
You know what? I'm not saying anything. You do the math. You come up on a 3-foot boulder, you're going up it. You're not going to crawl on it with open diff. So
open diff 2-wheel drive. No,
right? No, you're hitting. You're sending that sucker.
Yep,
so
yep, you got to give it the bump.
That's right.
The picture in the background of Ben's screen there. Ben's not really at the dunes, and there's not really 2 trucks behind him. But yeah, Ben just gave it the bump to get up that dune.
Nice.
And it's quite the epic video. Yeah, Ben likes to bump it.
I'd love to bump it.
Bump it sideways, bump it forward, bump it backwards. Ben bumps it.
And that's just at McDonald's drive-through.
Oh yeah. Oh man, you should see the damage I've done in McDonald's drive-through.
You should see me on the trails. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
We're having fun.
That's good. Yeah. Well, I really had no idea it got that cold down on the Ozarks down there. I'd love to.
But man, let me tell you something. 2 weeks later, we were in the 70s. So like today, I think it topped out in the 40s. It's all over the place, man. So when people, it is all over the place.
That was around Christmas weekend, correct?
It was the weekend before. I believe that was 17th, 18th, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I was on my way to Montana, or in Montana at the time, and it was negative 26.
I think that was just kind of all across the whole country, man. Like whatever they call it, the nor'easterns or whatever.
Yeah,
polar cyclone or something like that.
Whatever.
It probably got so hot a couple weeks later though, because everybody's running their diesel heaters.
That's right. Overlanders.
The overlanders are causing global warming with their diesel heaters.
That's so funny. And there's a surplus this year, boys. Let me tell you, there's a surplus. There's a bunch of diesel heaters.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month. That was close. There it is right there. That's the January Patch of the Month. I've got it right here in my hot little hands too. It just showed up in the mail today, Ben, if you haven't checked your mail yet.
I have not checked my mail yet, and you're frozen, so.
Oh, well, so people can't see it anyways.
Yep.
The card is different once again, and it feels like it's completely laminated. So,
Ooh, fancy.
yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And then we also can't forget about our off-road podcast patch and our Lumen Locker patch. Those are available, $13 shipped for one and $10 for any additional, or $10 each picked up from us in person. If you are out of the country, which has happened before, send us a message and I'll figure out what the shipping is. It'll be $10 a patch plus shipping. And then, yeah, just shoot us a message through any of our channels and we can hook you up with a PayPal link.
Depending what country we can deliver.
No, I've shipped to Canada,
I will hand deliver.
the UK, and was there another one?
It'd be fun to jump a plane and hand deliver. That's for sure.
Yeah,
That would be a blast.
for small fee. For
Small fee.
Yeah. We're gonna need some more sponsors to make that happen.
I'll jump out of an airplane even and deliver it.
Benji,
Southwest might be having a good deal going here soon.
Benji, your buddy with the first gen Tundra might need one of these Lumen Locker patches. So it's for the people who have light bars and no
Right.
lockers. So
Yeah,
when
that's
you turn your Lumen Locker patch on, it acts just like lockers.
Yep, I've got mine ready to be engaged and
that's really nice.
fully open.
And it works.
It does work very well.
Yes, it's patented.
So if you're
Can't tell
snow wheeling, what it does is it causes all the lumens to melt the snow in front of you, and then you're not stuck.
Nice.
It's awesome.
Mark says, "OMFG, it glows." Yes, it does. It is a glow in the dark patch.
I need that patch. Yeah.
Have tire troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you covered. Ever have a valve stem leak? Colby Valve makes reusable and easily replaceable valve stems that don't require you to remove your tire from the wheel. They work with your off-road rig, ATV, side-by-side, commuter vehicle, or even your tractor. Never be left stranded again because of a busted valve stem. They also have a tire repair kit for those punctures that keep you away from doing your favorite thing, wheeling. Make sure to check out colbyvalve.com or ask for them at your local off-road products store.
We really need to update that video because I just need to go slash someone's tire valve and put in a new one.
You guys ever heard of Colby valves?
I have not.
I have not.
It's a pretty nifty little thing. Let me grab
That's
one.
cool.
Are there imitators out there?
There was a Chinese
really?
imitator, but they're gone. That I've seen. There's been a couple other brands that have come out since then, but not quite the same. So what the Colby valve does is it installs from the outside, pushes in, and you tighten it down. So if you just lose your valve stem, why use your spare if you don't need to?
Very cool.
Not Colby cheese, Colby valve. Yeah, pretty easy repair because that's a common thing to have happen on the trail is your valve stem to get whacked, and
and they're fairly inexpensive. I want to say they're like $16 on Amazon, and it's shipped directly from Colby Valve. So
Yeah. Need to get one of those.
Yeah, it's definitely affordable product. Now, if you have TPMS on your rig, usually those are like glued in from the inside of your wheel, and you can't do anything about that. But for people with the regular rubber ones, for sure,
it's cheaper replacing your TPMS than it is your tire.
Yeah.
Well, we have a news correction here because I'm stupid. The Rivian is self-owned, not by Volkswagen. I missed
Yeah.
it.
So yeah, last week, Ben, when we were talking about the Rivian, Ben had made mention that Rivian was owned by Volkswagen, and fact check that, and they are not.
Drop a piano.
Yeah,
What it
that's
sound
what it
like, didn't it?
sounded like. Yeah.
Ding.
Wikipedia
Sorry, guys.
applied to me. So
Mark in the comments says, "How low do you air your tires down?" We did a podcast on that 2 or 3 months back, specifically about airing down, but the cheesy the Colby valve, or the Colby cheesy answer I'm going to give you is that it depends. So are you rock crawling? Are you in the sand? Are you in the snow? What kind of tires do you have? How tall of a sidewall do you have? How heavy is your rig? So you just kind of got to figure it out I don't want to say figure it out for yourself. You definitely ask the questions, but check with people running the same rigs or similar tires to you in similar terrains. So
yeah, terrain is a huge, big thing with that. Because if I'm on a Forest Service road and I just want to make the road a little better, I'll drop down to 20. If I'm on sand or snow, I'm down to 8 or lower, but I've got bead locks. So
yeah.
it depends upon what you got and making sure you got the right stuff.
Yeah, I've aired weighed down with non-bead locks and popped a bead off, so you have to definitely be careful. But if you're just in sand or just in snow, you can go pretty low without bead locks. But you want to make sure that if you do debead, Rick says the way you drive makes a big difference. Rick likes to not air down as much as we do and show off with his driving prowess when he goes wheeling with us. So Rick is always a big show off. Maybe it's because he has a Jeep and his Jeep is superior than our Frontiers and Forerunners.
I figured it's because he has AAA.
Yes, he does. Yes, and you've been able to use that a few times, haven't you, Ben?
Oh yes, very many times.
Yeah. Well, our other news story, our first news story was Ben is stupid. Our second news story is about
Golly.
yeah, we can be a little rough on this show. The
Sheesh.
F-150 and the Rivian R1T go tractor pulling. So
Yeah, who won that contest?
Edmunds.com is who this has come from, and they took a brand new F-150 Lightning and a brand new Rivian pickup truck to I can't remember what event it was, but essentially it's a tractor pull.
It is
And,
the Sacramento, California Terminator 2.0.
That's the Terminator 2.0 is the name of it. That's right. It was Truck Mania, yeah, in Sacramento. Terminator 2.0 was the name of the sled, the 17-ton tractor sled that they were hooked up to. So I think they had a 400-foot lane. When I did a tractor pull, my lane was only 300 feet long, but they must have more space in California for tractor pulls. So yeah, the 400-foot lane, the F-150, which has 580 horsepower and 775 foot-pounds of torque out of 2 electric motors, did 231 feet. And the Rivian, which has quite a bit more horsepower and torque, it's got 835 horse, 908 torque out of 4 electric motors. It pulled 246 feet, so only 15 more feet. Neither of them pulled all the way to the end, which is a big deal to pull all the way to the end. But at the very end of the video, so this is a video, you can go watch it if you want. It's in our show notes. They showed what different weight classes of trucks normally pull, and these trucks actually pulled basically what a gas pickup truck in its class would pull. The F-150 just had regular street tires. The Rivian, they didn't show the tires, but they said that they were off-road tires. They didn't say what kind.
It's the all-trains that the Rivians come with.
Yeah, so they weren't fitted to it. They're just what comes standard on them. So pretty cool though that somebody did that. First time I've ever heard of somebody doing tractor pulls with electric trucks.
We said this is in California, right? So I'm assuming all tractor pulls by 2030 are going to be electric, right?
I'm sure they're working on legislation as we speak.
I want to know what they hook to. I mean, I guess the F-150 still got. Does it have a metal frame with a Reese and all that, or they're not? Like,
Yeah, it's got. They've both got the a standard tow point.
that's crazy.
I wonder what it
Yeah,
sounded like. I
So
love
I
tractor
didn't-
pulls because you have all the fumes and the noise. And what does a Rivian sound
Yeah.
like when it's pulling a trailer?
the Jetsons mobile. I'm not sure. The Rivian almost pulled its front tires off the ground on one of the pulls that it did, which was pretty cool. Just a whole lot of torque with those things. And as most people know, with an electric motor, you get that torque from the very beginning. You don't have to spool up to an RPM to get all that torque. So yeah. Anyway, it's just kind of neat. Not totally off-road. Well, they're really not off-road related at all, but
It's
we
fun.
like to talk about electric vehicles from time to time. And they're definitely going to be, you're going to see them out in the off-road, in the off-road and overlanding sphere for sure. You're going to see them out there. So the sounds of disappointment is what the electric
cracking me
vehicles
up.
sound like. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
I'm with you, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if the range was afterwards, because
Oh, so actually they did talk about that. And so basically they did 3 pulls for each vehicle, and each time it only lost approximately 1 mile of range.
wow,
So-
that's impressive.
Yeah.
I've just heard, like, generally the electric vehicles, when you go to tow, like you're towing a trailer, your range dramatically drops. So
Well, I mean, they only went 230 some odd feet for that 1 mile of range they lost.
yeah, that is true.
But I am surprised it didn't lose more range than what they did lose.
Yeah.
So
It just adds up over time, I guess.
yeah.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
It almost ate it, Aaron. It almost ate it.
It almost sucked it in. Yeah. Jeff says, isn't Rivian going bankrupt? I've not heard anything about that. I think Rivian's doing really well.
I've
they were
seen
one of the
so many
first
Rivians out in the wild here. I'd be surprised if they were. That would kind of suck. I'm out of all of what's out there on the market right now, the Rivian's the one I like the most.
Yeah, I
cool.
totally agree. Yeah.
You know, we're talking about that polar cyclone that came down here. There's a lot of people that own Teslas and electric vehicles that the cold weather really zapped their batteries and their ranges, and it really threw a lot of people off. And so I just found that to be pretty interesting.
Well, my favorite part was while I was in Montana, I was in Missoula, which has charging stations and stuff all around. I didn't see a single electric vehicle. Surprise, surprise for winter in Montana, because I mean it's cold there.
Jeff says he saw one at Rendezvous in the Ozark last year.
Yeah, I remember seeing one there. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially this summer, like the Northwest Overland Rally. I'm sure there will be a handful there. Finally get check out in person.
The Rivian has some fun off-road stuff to it. Like you can get that camp kitchen that pulls out from behind the back seats, and it has that auto camp level setting too. So yeah. Yep. All right. Well, let's jump into the main topic here. So the first thing we're going to do with you guys is ask you the Fast 5 facts. So Benji, let's start out with you.
Sure, man.
Yeah. So new or old vehicle?
Old.
Summer or winter camping?
Winter.
Rock, sand, snow, or mud?
It's, rock. Yeah. Rock and mud. I'll make up my own there. I hate mud, but I'm not. No one's just going for mud. If you've got a little bit of mud and rock, that's perfect. I mean, I'm not out rock crawling. I'm not a rock crawler.
There's
I'd
some
prefer
people out
rock
there that
over mud.
there's some people out there that just like the mud, them bounty
No.
hole folks.
Not a mudder. No. Rednecks with paychecks. No. Not me.
Favorite vehicle brand.
Toyota.
Favorite tire.
Falcons. MT3
Okay.
for MTs. I like those. And we're even running all trains too, so I like them both.
All right. And any recommendations to someone new to off-roading?
Just go out there and tear it up and fix it. You'll be learning in no time.
That sounds like rednecks with paychecks right there.
Well, yeah, I guess. But I mean, just go out there and have fun. I mean, spend some time out there just playing with the little stuff, and then gradually progress from there. Go to an off-road park if that's accessible within a couple 100 miles of your home. You would be glad you did, because there's different trails out there, different levels you can push yourself. So that's what I do. Baby steps. Baby steps.
Baby. All
All
right.
right.
All right.
Jay,
Now-
your turn.
All right.
Yeah, Jay, and you've got a sneak peek, so you've had a little bit of time to think about
Got
these answers.
time to prepare.
New
Yeah.
or old vehicle?
New.
Summer or winter camping?
That's a tough one. I'm going to say winter.
Rock, sand, snow, or mud?
Snow.
And favorite vehicle brand?
Toyota.
Favorite tire?
I love my Falcon wall peaks, man.
And then any recommendations to someone new to off-roading?
Yeah, if you're new, I would just say, join a community, find a cool group of people and ask questions. Don't be scared to ask questions. Find a welcoming group of people and ask questions.
Right.
That's a really big deal. We've talked about that on the show, where you can get in with people who are like-minded and do like-minded things, but you don't mesh for one reason or another, and it's not fun to wheel with those people. So yeah, you
Right.
got to find that group.
Yep.
Yeah, and that kind of lends its way to what Budget Overland is about. I'm sure we'll get into that tonight, but that's really why we created that community.
Yeah. All right. Well, so now we got the fast 5 facts out of the way. Let's find out some stuff about you guys. So how did each of you guys get started in off-roading or overlanding, or whatever we call what we do?
You're gonna have to tell us who goes first.
All right, Ben, you go first. We'll just let you go first each time for this one.
All right, cool, man. No, for me, I've always been intrigued with, every 16-year-old gets their rig. It doesn't matter if it's a minivan or a pickup truck or whatever. You're always looking to get it dirty or whatever. And ever since I got my driver's license, I've always been into that. And then as I got older, probably in my mid-20s and stuff, started off-roading with my buddies that had fully decked out Jeeps and everything, and I'm running a second gen Toyota 4Runner, open diffs, no locks, nothing, and I'm just out there having a good time with them, taking every bypass I can, to keep up with those guys. But I learned, and I think for me, some guys like to go fast on the trails, and I'm just not that guy. My rig now's built up to my specs and what I enjoy doing. Just slow, nice go. If you can crawl over stuff, that's great. I try not to tear my stuff up. I've been broken down a few times, and it's like that. It's not fun, especially whenever you have to pay for those repairs over and over. It gets old. So I think that's what drew me more into overlanding as opposed to, and I still go, I don't go to like hardcore off-road parks or anything, but some of the trails I do and water crossings and stuff, that's up there with some of the big guys that call themselves off-roaders. So it's I guess to me it's an evolving stage. Every few years you look back and you're like, man, either that was cool or that was stupid, but you're evolving with what you call fun, off-roading, overlanding, whatever.
How about you, Jay? How did you get started in off-roading?
Yeah, so I would say I'm probably a little more novice. I'm really novice to off-road proper. So I've always liked vehicles, and I'm more of growing up in the Midwest, I liked gravel roads but I never really pushed the limits on my vehicle. I would say when I joined the Army, that was like probably the first time that I actually did more things that required 4-wheel drive, or we had tracked vehicles and we're driving over like really, tough terrain. And that was exciting. I didn't have anyone to really teach me that before I joined the military. And then that kind of lent itself with the travel and the overlanding trend. I bought a Jeep and I've had some 4-wheel drive vehicles, but I've never really pushed the limits of my vehicle. Like, I'm not a rock crawler. I'm more of just a traveler, adventure explorer. I like to throw it in 4-wheel drive and hit some obstacles here or there. But I think the last couple of years, going with Benji and some of these other folks that have more 4-wheel drive experience, I've really pushed the limits on that myself. So I consider myself a novice when it comes to 4x4.
You're muted, Ben.
There we go.
Your lips are moving, but nothing is coming out.
So Benji, what are you driving now?
It's a third-gen Toyota 4Runner. And
What year?
it's a 2000, and it's probably one of the longest rigs I've ever owned. I've had it just over a year now. I love it.
Longest rigs, like it's like 25 feet long?
No, the relationship. One of the longest rigs I've ever owned.
Just over a year? Do you go through rigs a lot?
Oh yeah. Daddy can make $5. He'll make $5. It's gone. I'm just joking. No, my background is I'm in car sales. So used cars, I like to buy stuff I would buy, and then I'll fix them up and I'll drive them, have fun, and then I'll flip them.
Gotcha.
So this is, that's all my friends joke. Like, you drive more cars in, a year than I've owned my whole life or whatever, but that's my job. So, this is the longest one. I've built it for me, for my needs, and man, it's fun. So I enjoy it. I like that platform.
I was starting to think and wonder, is he like me? Is he just abuse his vehicles that bad? Is it
No.
No, I don't know if anyone's is like you, Ben. You're unique.
No, I'm one of a
You are
kind.
one of a kind.
Jay, what about you? What you drive?
I've got a Toyota 4Runner 2018 off-road premium, and I bought it with the purpose of driving it for a long time. Toyota's got a great reputation for the most part, and that's and I wanted a solid platform. It's one of the smaller vehicles I've owned, because I've usually had like Suburbans or large full-size trucks. So I wanted something that I could specifically take and get out on the trail. So that's what I'm rolling with. Also have the Africa Twins out there, and I consider overlanding just vehicle dependent travel. So I've got my daily or my fuel efficient vehicle. I got a 2011 Jetta Sport Wagon. I've camped out of that, and I've taken that on trips too. So.
Is that a diesel?
It's a diesel, yeah, a little TDI.
Yeah, a little TDI. All right. It wasn't part of that big old Volkswagen recall like 5 years ago. Where
it was, and that's why I got a really good deal on it because of that. They had to go in and do what they, I guess make them right, and then they were out there on the market, and you get it.
Make them cheat your fuel economy.
Yeah,
that was dirty. Yeah,
you need to get that deleted.
That's what the EPA thought too. They thought it was dirty.
Yeah, it's a great little car though. Yeah, little stick, TDI diesel. It's cool. My kids are going to be driving here in about a year, and they're going to learn a little TDI diesel.
All their other friends are flying cars. They're going to be driving a stick shift.
I'm a big fan of station wagons. I've loved wagons ever since I got into cars way back in the day. So
they're just practical. They're just handy.
Yeah, exactly.
So much
practical.
room.
I mean, I'm 6'4". I can lay down in the back of it and sleep in it. Like, it's legit.
I had a drum set. I carried a drum set around in my car for a long time. You can't just do that with some old hatchback or a sedan. You can't fit a drum set in a sedan. So, anyways, we'll save that for the wagon podcast. So this is a fun question we love to ask everybody. Benji, do you have a most embarrassing moment on the trail story you want to share?
Yes, I do. And everybody tune in if you've ever been to Rendezvous in the Ozarks. This was my first year going to Rendezvous in the Ozarks, and if you don't know what that is, it's a huge overland get together in the heart of the Ozarks. It's a 2 or 3 day event. Tons of vendors out there. You get your hands on stuff. And anyway, This is my first year. My buddy, this is probably my introduction to overlanding. It's 2019, coming from open differential, no locks or nothing on my second gen. I bought a third gen, and my buddy says, "Hey man, you should go to this event. This sounds like something you might be interested in." So I went down there, and all these yuppies got their rooftop tents and all their goofy little cooking wear, and it's comical looking back because I'm that guy now. I've got all that gear now, but it's just like, as I told you, like kind of evolving your needs and whatever. So anyway, we were on this trail, complete strangers, and we're going, and I'm open in my third gen, everything, no lockers, nothing. I think I'm running 285 70 17s. I'm in 4 low going up this hill. There's kind of some shelf rock. And I probably, kind of inexperienced on that kind of terrain. It was a rainy day, real wet, slippery, muddy, and rocky. So going up this huge grade, I just kept spinning. I couldn't bump over it. So this little Gia, I think it was a Gia, maybe a Jimmy. I don't know. It was one of those little guys, came down, hitched up to me, pulled me up. And we're on this huge trail with everybody. It ripped my rear upper control arm mount off the frame. It just, at the welds, ripped it completely off. And if you know the third gen Forerunners, that's a common failure point if you're rough on these things. Not only because of the rust weakening it from the inside. It could look good on the outside, but if you look inside the cavity of that bracket, it just ripped clean off. So I drove it all the way back to camp. Every time you would throttle, the left rear tire would fall back, crab walking the whole way back. So that was pretty embarrassing. You look behind you, got 50, 60 cars on their way back to camp. So yeah, that's my story.
I thought you were going to tell a story about like a catastrophic weather event or something, like a tornado bearing down on you, or
The tornado that never happened.
That's Jay's story. But that
should be embarrassing for you, bro.
That was super embarrassing. No, I don't care about the storm. Daddy was ready to go home. You want to hear another story? That night when we left, we were going to my parents' house to stay there. They didn't have any idea we were coming. They locked all the doors. The garage code, sure, we can get in the garage, but the door to inside the house was locked. So they had a swinging bed outside they've got a really cool backyard, some patio furniture. Me and my wife just stayed out there, and my mom came out the next morning at like 6:30 drinking coffee, and she's like terrified because she sees 2 people sleeping on that bed. But that's another story.
I got a story like that. When I was in high school, I didn't live anywhere near a main town, and one Saturday night, it was a Sunday night, I was staying the night at a friend's house, but a different friend picked me up. He was a year older. He had a car. He picked me up from that friend's house. We went out and had some fun. We came back, and they had locked the door, and they never locked the door on this house. Ooh. And I'm throwing the pebbles up at the second story window, trying to get my friend's attention to let me in the house. And in the comments here, Eric knows the house I'm talking about. It's the mom's house in the middle of Tacoma. And I laid down on the front porch, and it's a busy street, and I'm trying to cover up with the floor with the house mat to keep me warm. I'm like, I'm going to go try their car. They had a Ford Taurus, and the back door of the Ford Taurus was unlocked. So I slept in the back seat of their car.
Wow.
And their Asian dad comes out early in the morning because he had to go to work that next day, and he said, "You go inside now." And so I went to the house and finished sleeping. So yeah, I know your pain about going somewhere where they're not supposed to have their doors locked, and they were.
Yeah, we made it work. So did you. It's funny to talk about, but
yeah. Oh well. How about you, Jay? You got a most embarrassing moment on the trail, or did you get locked out of somebody's house?
I think my personal most embarrassing moment was the first trip that I took my now wife. We were dating at the time, to Colorado on a big trip. So I just had the rooftop tent put on the Forerunner. We're out in Colorado Springs area. So it's really we stayed the first night in a hotel. It was the second night. So the first night they were actually going to use the rooftop tent. And so I was super excited. And we're out. We found some BLM land, and it took us a little bit because there's a bunch of hippies and homeless people out there. So every time we pull up, there'd be like some homeless person, and we have to find another spot. So it took a bit to find a spot, but we eventually found a spot right about dark. We got camp set up, and everything was great. Beautiful view of the mountain. Everything is great. We drink beer, cook up a steak. We have a wonderful meal together, and then we go up, in the rooftop tent, and we fall asleep. And I wake up at some point in time. My stomach was like rumbling. And I'm like, oh, this ain't good. This ain't good. This is the first time I've experienced the rooftop tent. Really, the downside is getting in and out at night when you got to get up and go to the bathroom. Well, I couldn't find my light in time, and my stomach was rumbling, and I literally crapped myself.
Oh,
and this is with I don't think I've even farted in front of my girlfriend yet. And here I am, I crap myself, and I'm like, I had to get out there, and she had to help me when she found she found another pair of pants for me. And it was a very vulnerable moment and a test in our relationship. I was mortified because I'm like, oh my gosh. So the first time I used my rooftop tent, I crap my pants. So
you guys are still together. It didn't ruin the relationship. You're still together.
We are still together. She loves me now more than ever. And that's not the only time I've crapped my pants in the tent, because it's happened a couple of times.
You might need to go see a doctor.
It only happens in the rooftop tent. That's been the most amazing thing.
I have some advice for you. Get a ground tent.
Here's what I do, boys. I don't zip my tent on because I've got a rooftop tent. I've been a ground dweller for better half of my whole life. So I got me a rooftop tent last year. I don't even zip the sucker. I kick it open like a teepee. That sucker just flies up. You ride that ladder down like a fireman does. I mean, that's the way it is. You just got to practice that more.
I'm surprised they don't have fire poles for rooftop tents. That would, yeah.
But if you saw me and Jay are both pretty tall folks. Jay's 6'4", I'm 6'6". There ain't much of a ladder once you stick your legs out. You're like two rungs, and you're on the floor. So,
yeah. I've had the gastric distress when I was up in a rooftop tent. Thankfully, I made it out into the snow before things happened. So.
Yeah.
Did you bury it afterwards?
I didn't make it.
Crap happens, man. They made a T-shirt about it.
Yeah. Or you use your T-shirt for it, something like that.
Well, we've talked about embarrassing, terrible moments on the trail. What's your favorite moment, your biggest win on the trail, Benji?
I'll tell you, I'm a storyteller. I mean, I'm a storyteller. So me and my buddies last year, we did the part of Arkansas that's very rural, like secluded. Not a lot of people go out there because it's backwoods Arkansas. You hear the fiddles going at night. It's not that bad, but it's out there and you're kind of scared. So we did this one trail and we're like, we're tired. Let's go to this. It's kind of on the river. There's a rope swing, a nice little bluff. We could camp there and then swim. And so we swam there for a while. All these people showed up and just started throwing down like they were going to camp there too. So they ran us out. So the highlight of this story is with that crappy situation, we were forced to go somewhere else. And I'm glad we did because we found probably the most epic campsite I've ever stayed at. It was on a big rock waterfall. This was September prior to them having a drought. So the water levels were already kind of low, and it was a sandy beach in the Ozarks, mountains around you. Epic. That was turning lemons into lemonade, man. So
nice.
That's memorable.
It's always nice when it's like you thought your favorite spot was there, and
a
better one.
It was worth it.
Oh yeah. Well, Jay, what about you?
Yeah, for me, on that very same trip, this was after a couple days later, we went up to Ouray, and we're going to do Engineer Pass, Nijmegen Pass. And so we stop in Ouray, and we had a great brunch. Then we're getting ready to go hit the trail, and I'm airing down, and I'm like, we found this cool connector trail to get up there. And what I didn't realize was that this connector trail was, I forgot the name of it, but it was definitely a much more difficult rock crawling type trail. that was very narrow, and it was like sheer downhill. And my wife was panicked, and I was definitely probably a little bit beyond my capability. And it was just us. There were some other folks out on the trail, but there's one particular corner that you had to crawl up a rock a certain way and maneuver around the corner, and the truck was like sideways, and I had to have a spotter. So luckily somebody was coming the opposite way to spot. I made it, but it was definitely like a white knuckle, about two and a half hours on this trail, where I thought my wife was probably going to leave me, my girlfriend at the time, after everything I've already put her through. She's like, "What the hell is this? Is the whole trail going to be like this?" I'm like, "No, it can't be. Like, it's not going to be like this the whole time." I think it's Poughkeepsie Gulch. I think that was it, if I remember right. But yeah, it was definitely beyond my capability. Like I said, I'm pretty novice, but I will tell you, by making it through that, I felt it was awesome to finally get up there and make it through that. Man, the sense of accomplishment that I had was awesome. And it made me really appreciate, four-wheeling even more. And so, yeah, that was definitely a highlight for me.
That's cool.
It's always nice to reach what you think is your limit and surpass it.
Yeah.
What does your hat say? Do hard things?
Yeah, so that's my original podcast, and that's the apparel brand that I have, and it's got nothing to do with overlanding, but I'm a performance coach, and that's been my life mantra, is doing hard things. And with that podcast, we talk a little bit more about serious topics, about pushing, like you said, pushing the limits, facing your fear, overcoming adversity. That's what I talk about, and it's. I have a lot of veteran guests, so we really talk in that sphere quite a bit. But because of that podcast, that's what led me to reach out to Benji, because I'm like, I really am intrigued by overlanding. I would love to learn more about it. And let's start a podcast. And I knew he was a wheeler. And what I love about our dynamic is that he's probably more of a wheeler. I'm more of a traveler. But both of us together, we're learning about overlanding together and sharing. We're learning as we go. And so that's kind of really, do hard things led to Budget Overland.
Gotcha. Well, you did hard things on that trail and it paid off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, my internet dropped out. Did you already ask Benji if
Yes.
he had the biggest one on the trail?
He's
Okay.
first, remember? Dude.
I just making sure when sometimes when I disappear, you just go rogue. So
We had 3 commercial breaks, and then now you're back.
I had a smoke break,
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. I got one more for you guys, and then we'll jump into some stuff about budget overlanding. So, are there any places that you haven't been that you want to go, Benji?
Well, specifically, man, there's so many places. Like, just give me the money and time to completely outfit my rig so it doesn't break down anywhere. And I'd love to go to Baja, Mexico, and the complete opposite. I would love to go to Alaska and do all the trails there. Go through BC, do the Dalton Highway, all Dead Horse, all that stuff. Yeah. That would be epic. I don't want to go to the Arctic Circle whenever it's like freezing. And we've had invites to do that. That sounds miserable whenever it's like negative, whatever, 40 or 50 degrees. Yeah, screw that. But anyway, like, just to travel, man. Like, there's no, like, for us, we're in the almost the central United States. Like, we're in like middle Missouri. So like, our playgrounds, we got the Mark Twain National Forest. That's pretty cool. We got the Ozark Mountains. We got the Ouachitas down there. We got Arkansas, even parts of Oklahoma and Kansas. It's like all the little playground area. But like, if you want to go to the mountains, you got to drive 12, 14 hours to Colorado, or go south and then go up through New Mexico and stuff. But we're kind of right there in the middle. So throw a dart, we can kind of go wherever we want within like 12, 15 miles, and then trail on to wherever. But those Baja, Mexico, or Alaska, man, that'd be fun.
Baja's great. How about you, Jay?
Well, I just took a trip down to New Zealand in December, and I was in the North Island, and there are overland rigs everywhere. And as I was talking to some folks, apparently the South Island is where it's at, and you can really overland anywhere in the country. It's wide open, and it's so. I mean, it's where they filmed Lord of the Rings. It's absolutely beautiful. But I want to go back and go down to the South Island. They've got a lot of outfitters down there, and apparently people do this all the time. And so definitely want to. And one of my upcoming roles, I'm a professor, just distance learning at a university down there. So I'm going to be taking some trips down there, and I also want to go across the ditch over to Australia. So those are my 2 bucket list items.
The ditch, is that what they call it? The ditch?
Yeah, they call it the ditch. Yeah, crossing the ditch.
Okay, all right, interesting.
It's a big ditch.
Nice.
That is a very big ditch, but
It
it sounds
is a
like
big
one worth
ditch.
jumping over.
Yeah, Ben loves ditches, by the way. So
I am the
it
ditch
sounds like
king.
a great place for Ben.
Ditch
Yeah.
king, yeah.
I'm the ditch king. I am properly parked in one at least once a year. So
Properly parked.
properly parked in the ditch. Just got to watch out for those trees. So Jay, and Benji, though he's stepped away for a second here, what caused you to make a podcast about budget overlanding?
Yeah, so it took me a couple times to convince Benji. I had to speak to him a few times or ask him about it a few times about create a podcast with me, because he had started the group, and I already had a podcast, but he wasn't familiar with podcasting, and so I'm like, Benji, let's start a podcast. Like, I don't know, and then I finally convinced him to do it, and for me, selfishly, I thought it'd be a great way because of the other podcasts, I'd made so many connections. I'm like, this would be a great way to make connections with other like-minded people. And what I saw in the overlanding community, at least like the big communities, like Benji was running a really good group, but there's a lot of groups where if you ask a question, people would social media's become very negative and very toxic in a lot of ways.
Extreme.
And I felt that like there was something lacking. Like I had a lot of questions, but I was finding myself like, I didn't want to get raked over the coals for asking a stupid question. Right. And I wanted the same kind of community that you would find out on the trail. Usually when you're on the trail, like everyone's cool and awesome, but like behind the keyboard, everyone else, I mean, people get like really, crappy to one another. So we started this podcast as a way, I'm not I speak for myself, like to learn and help create this community of like-minded people.
And what got the Facebook group going there, Benji?
Pretty much. I always, I don't know. You go to events and stuff. You always see these $50,000 rigs with $30,000 worth of gear on it, and you can tell they don't wheel or anything or travel. I'm not saying your rig can't clean up, but they're more. And I hate using like mall crawlers because everybody uses that, but that's what they are, and that's totally fine if that floats your boat. But for me, like my budget is on, it's a lower budget. I don't have a $50,000 rig and all this extra gear because, if you look at lockers, tires, wheels, even upgraded axles, everything, that stuff's not cheap, man. So it's like, you gotta look at your perspective and then build your rig how you want it. So like mine's it's built for my needs, but you're looking at it, it's a 2000 4Runner, but it costs more than probably a 2000 whatever that's not built. So that's just me, but that's my take. The whole reason why I started is there's average Joes out there, man. You want to overland and stuff. It doesn't cost a fortune to overland. You could do it wise. Spin it. It doesn't necessarily mean cheap. I'd rather buy a decent set of tires rather than some crap tires that I'm going to have to replace in 20,000, 15,000 miles because they failed me. So like,
that. Just
pardon?
There's a learning curve on that, FYI.
There really is, man. But like, if you can ask the question, what size tires can I fit with no lift? Everybody laughs at that. Okay, let's talk about what kind of terrain are you going to be wheeling in prime time? What kind of lift you got to do? What kind of suspension? All that stuff. It's like, it's the goofy question that everybody gets burned for. But like, I don't know. I wasn't born with all this knowledge, so it's like over time you progressively gain knowledge. Let's share the knowledge and not be a bunch of pricks on the internet because that's what everybody is, unless you're on the trailer and a trip. And 90% of everybody doesn't do what they say they're doing anyway. So there's that.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of fakery out there.
Yeah. Hey, look, they sell buckets of mud, man, at Walmart. Go buy some of that.
And so to Benji's point, like he has an older vehicle, I consider myself pretty frugal, but I have a newer vehicle. But for that reason, like I wanted to choose a platform that was going to meet all my needs and I could drive it for 20, 30 years is what I'm looking for. And so really, we have some principles that we've outlined with what budget overland means. It's not just a catchphrase. Like we have some like guiding principles to encourage people to get out there and try their hand at off-roading or just traveling, making these experiences, but you can do it without breaking the bank. We saw a lot of people are like, man, I want to get into overlanding, but I don't have, this brand new vehicle with a rooftop tent and snorkel and all that stuff. Like, you don't need any of that stuff. And not laugh at them, when they ask questions.
I love like every time someone's like, I got this vehicle and now I want to build it. I'm like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Go out to a Forest Service road, drive around. You probably have a Walmart tent you bought 10 years ago sitting in the garage.
Right.
Grab that, throw it in the back, or just some pillows and blankets and sleep in your trunk.
Yeah.
But I think it's funny at first because, and looking at it in hindsight, years ago, I was that guy. Hey, look, I'm going to build out my rig. What should I do? But then after you do it for a few years and you're like, I got it. I get it now. And then you could tell who the noobs are or whoever for asking these silly questions because they're interested in the looks and stuff. Well, buddy, that high lift jack's not just for looks. I mean, I've used it twice in one weekend. I mean, I assure you it's not just for looks. So
yeah,
it just comes with over time, man. I don't know. We're not knocking anybody. I'm not some superhero off-roader. I mean, I'm still new at it. I've probably been doing it 6-7 years now. Overlanding probably 3 or 4 years. So
yeah.
I feel like when you are on a budget, whether it's because you're choosing to be frugal or if you just aren't wealthy, you don't make a big fat paycheck. I feel like it almost makes you better at off-roading and overlanding and things like that because you learn to make do with what you have and you still get out and you can enjoy doing the stuff you're doing. And if you guys don't know, I have a Nissan Frontier, and Nissans aren't Toyotas in the sense of popularity. And when I first started doing this way back in 2014 or something, there weren't people making a ton of stuff for Nissan. So I just had to roll with what I could. And I couldn't just bolt a bunch of stuff on because there wasn't stuff available to bolt on. So I just had to wheel with what I could. And when stuff became available, I still didn't buy it because I didn't have that big paycheck. I'd wait until somebody had a sale on it or it was used, and I bought a lot of used stuff and put on my rig. So yeah.
I think that's right. I think it forces you to not rush into situations and make better decisions. Cause I'm definitely, I don't want to break my rig. I don't want to, I don't want to pay for repairs. I do want to push the limits, but I do it carefully. I'm probably more careful because of that.
Yeah. So you guys have been doing this for about a year now. You guys just passed your 1-year mark with the podcast, which is awesome. Congratulations on that. What are some takeaways you guys have learned with running your Facebook group and doing the podcast? What are some takeaways you guys have gotten?
Good.
Just taking a deep breath. Go ahead.
Oh.
There's a lot, man.
I have learned something from every guest that we've had on. I think one of the more shocking ones. I remember we had what was his name with the ambulance?
Gene Sherman.
Gene Sherman came on. We're talking about converted ambulances. And I like going to this one, like really, like converted ambulances. That sounds lame. All right, and then the podcast was amazing. Like I didn't really think of how awesome of a platform a converted ambulance is, but he made a great point about so many different things. He's helping people learn how to convert them. It really caught me off guard. And that was probably one of the more profound episodes because I was just kind of going into it like, well, this one's going to be lame. And it turned out to be awesome. So I think I had a judgment or a preconceived notion going in. The exact same thing I'm talking about with the Facebook stuff, right? You go into this thing with a perception, but then you have a conversation like, wow, that really changed my whole perception on everything. And that's like a legit platform I could see myself maybe building out one day. And I think it's moments like that have made the podcasting rewarding. And then just the conversation, because it did open up a lot of other minds of other people as well. And so that was just a moment that I can think of.
The cool thing for me, as far as because Jay had to twist my arm 15,000 different ways to get me to do the podcast with him. The cool thing is, like he said, is meeting all these really interesting guests. Because me and Jay talk about other personal stuff, not personal stuff, but like our experiences with overlanding, you know, tips and tricks that we've learned over the years or whatever. But then we have these special guests that come on. People have done the Pan American Trail. What's the other one that Hortez did from Washington to
the AT?
Yeah, the Trans-American Trail. We've got the TAT. Yeah, we've got these people coming on, and they're like, look, if we don't use this said item within 30 days, we're shipping it home. Like, we're not bogging down our vehicle with useless crap. So it's like, you know, you're going back to like being more of a minimalist overlander and packer. Like, all you need is a couple little, you know, spare parts, some sleeping gear, some food, and trek on, man. You know, it's very, I mean, I think I've seen a lot of people like build out their rigs and then they start selling stuff because they don't need all that stuff. It's just Instagram gold or whatever you want to call it. There's nothing wrong with certain gear, but it's different terrains and different areas. So
yeah, we've had schoolies, we've had motorcycle riders, we've had, you know, people in crossovers. It's just unique people out there doing this in their own style of how they're using their vehicles and they're getting out there and they're making it happen. And it's really, and we've had quite a few that are full timing it as well. Or they're like, we just interviewed a couple this weekend that are going out for a year. Right. And so just these stories of just getting out there and making it happen. There's no excuses. I'm going to use what I got, and all these different ways of using it it's been really cool. And a lot of people have learned a lot from it. And we've certainly learned a lot, which is why selfishly we did it.
Yeah.
Well, made a ton of friends and connections. So like people hit us up all the time. Hey, if you're ever here or here or here, hit us up.
Oh, I love that.
And we were down at Rendezvous in the Ozarks, you know, and we just kind of threw it out there. Hey, Benji and I were going to be there. We didn't know if anyone was going to show up or not. And then it was like 6:00 that night. And then slowly people started pulling up to lawn chairs. And before we knew it, we had like over 100 people there. It was like, wow, that was really awesome. And they're all like just talking about their experiences with the podcast and what they've learned. And we gave out a bunch of stuff. And that was really probably the highlight for me of this whole thing so far. Is you know, seeing the community, making the connection with people, and just how awesome people are, and that's what I love about our community.
So, can you guys tell some of the things that you got planned for this upcoming year?
No.
Okay.
None.
Shut down. I don't have a whole lot planned. Jay and I need to sit down and kind of cross our schedules to see kind of what will work for each other. I know he's got some stuff coming up. I've got some stuff coming up. As far as anything set in stone, no. My family's been looking at doing the Upper Peninsula, possibly this summer, maybe around August. So that's going to be
when you say Upper Peninsula, can you
through Minnesota all the way up? I've never done it. It's Michigan, so it's
mitten, right? They call it the mitten.
It's the little hat or whatever that Minnesota needs to fight for, or Michigan needs to take over Minnesota and just call it. Take it back. It's stupid, folks. Anyway, if you're from that area, I apologize. But anyway, yeah, we're looking for that area.
Google Maps right now.
So we're about. It's kind of a unique trip. It's on the Great Lakes. A lot of people, it's kind of, what do you say, like a brush off kind of trip. A lot of people go to Colorado, New Mexico, kind of from our area for the same distance. So
Michigan's beautiful.
Yeah, Jeff, we're going to be at more, dude. We'll be there.
Yeah, more expo for sure.
It's later April, so hopefully it's not freezing cold one day. I forgot my coat last year. Dang near froze to death.
That could have been chalked up as another embarrassing moment.
Man, I locked my. All right, guys. All right, let's tell it. So this was our first. This is our first expo.
Very first, yes.
I show up there. Jay had to do some work stuff, so he wasn't. He was meeting me later that evening, that day. So I was like, I got this, man. I got this. I'm gonna go set up. I got this. So I show up. First thing I do when I pull into the spot to set up, I lock my keys in my truck.
Oh my!
The first thing. So I had to go find Chris, the show. He's heading up the show. I was like, man, you know any locksmiths or you got? He's like, man, there might be a coat hanger. I was like, I don't want to jack up my tinted windows or anything. So I found a Pop-A-Lock, $30. 2 hour or an hour and a half later, she shows up, pops it. It's windy, it's cold, it's nasty. I get my table set up. I got our t-shirts and patches and stickers. And, I'm like taking pictures and it looks like dog poop because the wind's blowing everything away. It's like, this is our first event. And this is how you're going to show everybody who Budget Overland is. Well, this.
Oh, and mind you, he's got his 3rd gen Toyota. And there's like all these beautiful, like just fancy rigs.
Oh, $100,000 rigs.
Yeah. And Benji's over here in his 3rd gen stickers and just shit's blowing everywhere. Sorry, I can't cuss. I don't know if I cuss. Stuff's blowing everywhere. And just looking like a homeless dude. When I rolled up there, he didn't have his clothes and he's wearing other people. I think Cottywample Overland adopted him.
Kelly from Cotty. I'm 6'6". Cottywample from Overland. Kelly is like, gosh, Kelly, don't hit me. Maybe 5 foot, something like that. He's a shorter guy. And he lent me one of his coats. So I look like freaking Chris Farley over there with my big coat on. And
in a tiny
coat. And I was like, I texted Jazz like, man, you got a coat or anything? Like, dude, bring me something. He did. He bailed me out. But my voice, it was all raspy because I was yelling all day. Nasty, man. It was just a bad first impression, but we still got to talk to people.
Lacey and I rolled up. We're like, what the hell happened to you, bro? What's going on here? He's all cold, looked like a homeless guy.
Day 2, man. Day 2 was fun. It was like, that's Missouri weather, though. It was like 30 and windy and nasty. And the next day it was like probably 70 degrees and got to talk to a lot of people. But man, I'll never forget that.
It was hilarious.
Bad.
Like, dude, this is our first. We're talking. We got to go in here and make a great first impression.
Yeah, guns blazing.
Budget Overland is.
Yeah, they're gonna learn. They're gonna learn who we are.
But looking at it from a marketing standpoint or advertisement, yeah, they remember. They know who we are. Good or bad, they know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was
bad. Well, here's the tough question of the night. So buckle up.
All right.
This is a tough one. So overlanding, camping, off-roading, it's expensive. It can be expensive.
Yeah.
How can people know what rig to buy, how much gear to buy, and where to travel without going crazy into debt? So why don't you guys take some time and speak to that? Because that's a lot of what your podcast is talking about.
Well, that was pretty simple, though, because your overland rig's in your driveway unless you own a bicycle or a motorcycle, yet you can still use your motorcycle. So all you need now is what? Shelter, food, maybe, I don't know. What else do you need? Shelter and food?
Yeah. Well, you need a snorkel and a diesel heater and a rooftop tent. That's for sure.
Nah, that's in season 2.
Oh, season 2. Okay. All right.
No, but seriously, though, if you're wanting to get your feet wet in overlanding, I mean, you could either sleep in your minivan, your Civic, whatever, or you can go buy a $30 Ozark Trail tent at Walmart. Get you a nice little cooler. You don't need a fridge. I just got my first fridge like a month ago. Get you a nice little ice cooler. Get you some meals that are, what do we call it? You can either pre-cook meals, freeze them, to put them in there to act as ice to help. So as they're thawing, you're not losing ice space, for other foods. That's a pro. And then multi-use stuff. If you need, I don't know what I'm saying, like certain meals, like what we did the other day. Oh, we made like funnel cakes for the cooking competition that I took first place in. Right. But then the next morning we had pancakes. It's the same batter. So I didn't have all this extra food. So, I mean, it was like, if you could plan your trip around that kind of stuff, that's all you need. But if you're wanting to build it out, man, like, yeah, I see your MREs. Yeah.
That's how you end up christening.
But like, people think like overlanding or like kind of roughing it and stuff. You're not roughing it. I mean, you can go get whatever you want and cook it there. I mean, you can get a portable pizza oven if you wanted, but it depends on what your needs are and what you want. If you truly just want to go out and explore, set your limits. Peanut butter jelly, there you go, man. Cooler full of beer ice, and that's all.
Yeah, we've my first Northwest Overland rally. I was walking around in shorts and a wife beater, and I was eating cold hot dogs out of
Nasty.
the package, and and I had a beer in the other hand. So
Nasty. Were you using it as a straw? Please?
Were you?
Yes. Don't tell me you're using it as a straw.
no, I wasn't using it as a straw.
Nasty.
But
He will next year, though. You can guarantee he's going to drill one of those out. He's going to use it as a straw. This coming.
Mullet. I'm ready to grow a mullet and just go and drive like a Ford Ranger and show up and be like, I am hillbilly overland or something. Just you don't need much.
Yeah, so we've coined budget overland. We have a definition for it. It's making wise purchases that support vehicle-dependent adventure travel, where creating epic memories in remote destinations is the primary goal. And we have some considerations, like if you're filtering out, if you need some filtering, like I only have X amount of dollars, and everyone's talked about tonight, what you have in your driveway will get you 90% of where you need to go on the planet, right? Mm-hmm. And so start there. But the first consideration is safety. Do you have all the safety gear that you need to go and travel and be safe? Especially you got to consider weather and where you're going and the gear that you have, and training. Do you properly know how to use the gear? Kind of going back to the point of the high lift jack. There's a lot of those that are out there that people don't know how to operate them safely, right? So invest in some training. That'll get you a long ways. Next thing is travel. Your travel budget should be bigger than your vehicle budget. So are you earmarking money aside for your travel? Because so many people are like, well, what's the next doohickey I can mount on my vehicle? And
right.
No, what's the next adventure you're going to go take? Where are you going to go? And how much is it going to cost you? And are you saving for that? So that's a principle, because we want the travel. It's about the travel, not so much about the equipment. Comfort level, so you got to have different levels of comfort, creature comforts, as Kate likes to call it, right?
Creature comfort.
But especially with like the family, right? So I have a variety of different considerations. When I'm taking my triplet daughters who are 14, I got to have a lot more creature comforts for them to make that enjoyable for them. I have to bring certain things for my wife versus if I were to go by myself. So is everyone comfortable? Do we have the stuff that we need to be comfortable? So they'll want to come back out again. Functionality. What can I make do with? And I think less is more, but can I have equipment that's multi-use? Can I get, a lot of bang for my buck if I take this item, or does it become a projectile in my vehicle? And then finally, the cool factor. You got to have mods, and you got to have lights, and you got to have all the cool guy stuff, but save that for last, right? And so those are some of the principles, and that's what I would recommend, because everyone's budget is different, and budget doesn't mean cheap. And that's the one thing I really like. We really like to harp on is budget does not mean cheap. It just means making wise choices. And sometimes, you don't want to cut corners on certain things, and sometimes you can cut corners on certain things. But that's really it. And don't go into debt to minus your vehicle to, if you have your rooftop tent on credit, it's probably not wise, right? And never shame another overlander for what they're running. So those are some of our principles that we talk about.
Those are all really good principles and everything, and I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with you on all that stuff, except the shaming part. If you're super good friends with the person, absolutely drag him through the mud
or through a ditch.
Absolutely. Or through the ditch. Yeah, drag them through the ditch. Once they pull into the ditch, then you drag them through it. Yeah. That's all good stuff. Gear can be addicting, for sure, and I think that's a big, I don't want to call it a problem, but it can become a problem for people to just want the latest thing. What's that, Ben?
I said I don't have a problem, I swear.
Yeah. Yep. So, but you just have to know what you can afford. And one thing I like to say is buy once, cry once. You're talking about something being budget, but you want it to be quality. You don't want something that's gonna just. You just gotta know, like, there's tools at Harbor Freight that you can buy, but they're only a one-use tool. It's going to break. It's not going to last. And if that's going to work for what you're doing, that's great. But if you need something to last, you need to spend the more money for the buy once, cry once option. So
Yeah.
Let me interject there real quick. Here's where it could be a pro. Like we just talked about, I had a breakdown 2 weeks ago with a buddy of mine, and I always carry Harbor Freight the little motorcycle ratchet straps, not the motorcycle ones, the ones that actually ratchet for the sole purpose of lifting up axles or lifting up whatever miscellaneous part. I know that that's going to be complete trash whenever I'm done with it. So this one, we actually used it to like wrench up that it was a lower control arm with the CV axle all the way as high as we could to the upper, to where we could kind of just limp him back out to a gravel road. And then I always carry baling wire with me. That whole setup, I mean, it tore a little bit of the inside of his tire, which I told him it would because his spare tire took a different kind of lug nut. I didn't want him to tear up his, what am I saying? The studs on his hub or anything. So I was like, you're best now just to tear up that tire, because we were dragging him uphill, down back up some nasty terrain. So anyway, like that's going back to like some of that cheaper stuff. That's a throwaway. I'd rather throw away that $4 to $6 strap and have it, just to limp him out. And that was like, fluke that would ever, need to be used, but we had it.
Yeah, ratchet strap's a great item to keep in your kit for who knows what.
Yeah.
I've heard of people having problems with the rooftop tent, and they have to strap it down. So
Yeah,
Some uses it.
Yeah.
You guys always ask a question on your of your guests of what their favorite product is under $100. What's yours, Benji?
Well, this one was a recent purchase that my wife made, but it was a Blackstone 17-inch grill.
Oh,
and she got it for like freaking $60 at Walmart or something.
Dude.
And that was like on
70.
sale.
Yeah, I got mine for 70, and as Aaron could attest to, it's become the, hey, Ben, you need to bring your Blackstone camping.
So the cool thing about that is it eliminates pots and pans because you've got it all there on the flat top. If you want to cook coffee, I even have one of those Coleman ovens that you could pop up. It'll still cook on there. It's I don't know. It's not for everybody, but it's a little bit bulkier than like your traditional Coleman collapsible stove, which I'll take on solo trips and stuff just because it is easier for me to do that without my family taking up 2 extra chairs and their luggage and stuff. But yeah, that was a good little purchase for under $100.
That's a great purchase.
Yeah. Jay, what about you?
Mine is this. I got it off Amazon. It's like this. It's M-powered. It's made by Lucy, Luci. It's like these string lights. So it's you hook it up to your USB or whatever to charge it up, and then it just rolls out like string lights. And I hang them off my awning, and it's great because if you need to plug in and use a little bit of the battery to charge your cell phone, you can use it that way. The lights last for days. There's 3 different settings. They roll up nice and compact. I have it right there in my glove compartment, and it's got a little solar panel. So if you need to put it out during the day to let it charge, it'll charge up, and it's really cool.
I've bought those a few years in a row and used them for Christmas gifts, or gift exchange, stuff like that. Yeah, there it is right there.
Yeah. That thing is awesome. They're like $40. I think when I bought it, it was like $30 or something, inflation. But yeah, they're fantastic.
Yep, it's a great light. I love those. Yeah, and it's fun having those kind of strung up around your camp and a rooftop tent, or throw them on your picnic table while you're playing cards or having dinner or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you need to get out of the tent in a hurry in the middle of the night, it lights everything up.
Yeah.
Lights the way.
All right. Well, where can people find you guys, your Facebook group, the podcast?
Well, if you go to budgetoverlandofficial.com, that has links to our podcast and Facebook page. But if you just search us on Facebook, Budget Overland, you'll find us. And podcasts, we're on all platforms: Apple, Spotify, and we're on YouTube. So, yeah, we'd appreciate it if someone's interested. They can reach out to us and give give us a follow.
Sounds like we've got a few crossover listeners in the chat tonight, so that's pretty exciting too.
That's really
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So
Then Benji, can you give us one of your signature signing off quotes?
Are we to that time already? Man, I wish I would have known this. Yeah, sure. Just tell me when you're ready.
Go for it.
This one's going to be stupid if you could read. Adventure awaits.
What a cop out! What a cop out! For those who are only listening to the podcast, he has a beautiful sign behind him, a map of the world, and it says "Adventure Awaits" on his map behind him.
That was golden, though.
Yeah, that really was.
how do we even start that? Someone say cue the music. This is how we end it, right?
Cue the music.
I don't even know how that started, but we've been doing it ever since. I guess I don't think we knew how to end our first podcast.
No, and everything I say is literally either a song, a stupid little saying I've heard in a video, or whatever. It doesn't make any sense. But sometimes it does make sense. Sometimes I'll quote the person, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's good." They're probably like, "That guy's a moron."
That's exactly what I'm thinking as we're signing off.
You're like,
I speak through music and song all the time, and people are looking at me like I'm special. Yeah.
If you know,
I communicate in me.
Yeah, absolutely. I do memes too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love memes.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank everyone for listening to the show and hanging out with us live. Had a great group of people tonight. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for those who stuck around. We ran a little long tonight, but that's all right. Didn't seem like anybody cares if we run long. Everybody likes it. So we appreciate you guys. Thanks for sharing us with your friends, sharing us with your grandma, telling your grandma about us around the Christmas dinner table when she asked what you're thankful for, and you said the Off-Road Podcast. So we appreciate you guys. Thanks for helping us grow, and God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren Medical Gear Outfitters and Colby Valve to see all their great gear. We're a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a comment or question? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.net or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe, and courteous. Thanks for listening.
Man, Benji, I'm glad you go by Benji and not Ben. It would have been really confusing tonight.
Yeah, that's good, man. That was fun.